Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
I am a working man, I get things done. Work for the Holy Ghost, work for the Son. I am a working man, oh yes I am.
And you're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
Hello. Come on.
Okay.
Hacksaw.
I don't know what. Yeah. Why do you say hacksaw?
You gotta fix your camera, Dan.
What?
No, Ben? What's that thing pointing at?
Oh, it's just flying up in the air.
Sorry, Dan.
Okay.
I got mad at the wrong guy.
Sorry.
What's
There-
hacksaw?
There it
that
is.
what
Yeah, why did you say hacksaw? What's that?
It's a cool thing to yell.
Yeah, it
Oh.
is.
It's like instead of like, come on, you go hacksaw.
Yeah.
Oh.
I tried it at the football game.
Never heard
People
of
love
it.
it.
No, I haven't heard of that either.
Hacksaw.
I'm not cool though.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys know it was Yom Kippur?
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
know that. It feels like a guy's name, doesn't it?
Like his name is, hi, Yom Kippur.
Doesn't it? It feels like it's the
Just because there's two words.
the scansion. I don't know what it is. Like
The
like
what?
Tom Kishore,
The scansion?
Yom Kippur.
What does that mean?
Like a dude who's on the cover of a romance novel.
Oh, Dan.
What?
Left turn.
I read a Jewish romance novel called Yom Kippur.
Called the Day of Atonement.
Just
2 left turns.
just got a sheep up on a hill.
I think it's Yul Brynner. I think I get Yom Kippur
Yul Brynner?
mixed with Yul Brynner.
Yeah,
you know
he
Yul.
was the
Are you-
Pharaoh from the 10 Commandments.
Are you familiar with Yul's work?
I'm not familiar with Yul's work.
He was also in The King and I.
Yeah, he was in The King and I.
Oh.
And then he took on. Have you guys seen any of his westerns?
Oh yeah.
No.
Wasn't he like in I can't remember. Western one?
He might have. Was he in the Magnificent Seven? He was. He had a number of.
Oh, Samuel Jackson.
No, not the most
West
recent
Town, or what's that
Magnificent
called?
Seven.
Yul Brynner's long dead, friend.
Westworld.
Westworld. Wasn't he in Westworld?
He was in Westworld. Yes.
That movie had made an impact on my life.
Oh, really? How so?
What year
because-
did that movie make an impact on your life?
I mean, I was a kid, and I was watching it, and it was like he just always was slow and steady, and he just would get done when he needed to get done,
Yeah.
even the bad guy. And I thought, that's the way to do your life.
That's the way to do it.
And honestly, you don't know how many times through my life that scene, or one scene or whatever from that movie, of him just walking and always finding the guy who was running and hyping out, trying to escape, and it's like, just slow and steady, buddy.
So his acting to you was just as helpful as the tortoise and the hare was to so many others.
Right, because I didn't read those sophisticated books. I watched the movies.
I didn't know those books.
Actually, so what's interesting, Dan, is I had a very similar takeaway from watching the Bourne movies, the Jason Bourne movies.
Oh, yeah.
But like, because like what it felt to me like was
What's happening today?
It's like every 25-year-old dude right now going, man, John Wick really changed my life.
No, but listen.
When they said he's a man of
I
focus.
could kill a guy with a rolled up newspaper.
I saw him kill a man with a pencil.
Listen, it was for the same reason for Dan though. It was like similar because I thought like that dude can't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like he's got it under control, and like he's never weirded or freaked out. He's just always kind of prepared.
Yeah.
And then I got worried that like after like said
Well,
I
it's just acting.
I should be like that. And then now I feel like I don't get as emotional as I should at
Yeah.
things. I feel like
Right.
I'm emotionally dead inside.
You think the Bourne movies just
Yes.
ruined your ability to be emotionally intelligent?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
You don't let things affect you.
Yes, exactly.
You just go like, you know what? We're going to get through this.
Right.
We're just going to go.
Right. Play it cool.
Just take one step after another.
Yeah.
Look
Which
like a robot.
It's practically helpful, but also it feels like I lost something.
Do you feel the
you
same
know.
way about the show 24?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what's really weird is that like no part of you sniffs as Bourne-esque.
Not at all.
Zero.
I've never once looked at you and went,
I've often
Born
thought it.
supremacy, right?
Except for the ice cold emotionalism of an assassin.
Ben's really in his Born identity stage right now.
That's what I'm saying.
I have the emotional IQ of an assassin.
I'm unflappable.
But none of the moves or skills required to do anything cool.
Okay,
Does that mean I saw the movie Heavyweights and went, yeah, I'm going to live my life like that?
okay.
Sneaking candy into the camp.
I saw a movie called Socially Awkward, and I really took to it.
Now listen, I'm two things. One, I said it was just the one thing, and not
Okay.
that I had the demeanor.
I don't know, man. You kind of encapsulated it as if the movie
Yeah,
osmosis into you.
you didn't want to say it aloud, but you were really excited when we made that conclusion.
Okay, now second problem is, I so do not have control over my emotions that I'm likely to get a nervous stomach and crap myself like most of the time.
Yeah.
Like so whatever
It's
came
very
through
assassin-like.
And that's what I'm saying. I thought I would like to be a chaplain in the military or even for like the police force or something. I thought this would be great, except for I do not have the constitution for this type of thing.
I would love to see this. These dudes show up and be like, man, there was a shooting. Ben's like, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I got to go.
No, I mean, I really got to go.
I got poop real
I
bad.
can understand why that's affecting you.
I'll be back in 45 minutes or so.
You ever thought of driving a small car through a town? That's what I do when I get put up against emotional crises.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It didn't carry through.
Tires feel splashy.
I spoke at a church Sunday, and this group came up afterwards. And they said, we all think you remind us of Drew Carey.
Oh.
I'd rather go with the Bourne Identity, but I'm like, I don't even, like, I've never,
Oh, no.
that's one I hadn't heard. I'm like, is that good or bad? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Like,
Like Drew Carey show version
They
or
said, yeah,
Price
like
is Right?
whose line is it?
Whose line is it
Whose
anyway?
line is
Yeah.
it? Drew Carey.
Okay.
That's what we asked too. It's like, well, which Drew Carey are you talking
I
about?
think they
here?
just saw you had glasses and then went, oh, he looks a lot like Drew Carey.
Maybe.
What?
I mean, I don't know.
Your preaching reminds me of a sketch show.
I had the kids watch, like, I'm like, we should watch Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like,
show.
they'll think this is funny, you know? But it's gone real blue nowadays.
Oh yeah.
So,
Not
like,
real blue.
yeah.
What does that mean?
Like sad?
No.
No, it's nefarious content.
Yeah, late night.
Yeah. Blue,
Oh.
Yeah, blue comedy. Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard of that
It means
referred
it's-
to as blue comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mature
me
topics.
and the girls were going to watch it, you know? And then it was like, they just kept bringing up subjects where, like, the answers had to be naughty. And I'm like, oh, man.
Well,
But they were funny. But, like, their kids are young-ish.
Right, yes.
You know, it's like, it's
Yeah.
not the right time for this type of
yeah,
comedy.
that doesn't surprise me that that's happened. That's the only thing that's funny to today's audience.
Anyway, Dan, you just better double check that your sermon is on the up and up. If
man,
that's what they're basing it on.
I mean,
Talk about
Drew
the
Carey's
orphanage.
not
I
on
mean,
that show anymore, is he?
I don't know.
I don't think he's been on that show for a long time.
Have you ever seen him on The Price is Right?
Yeah.
Not as good as Barker.
I don't know that I have. Yeah.
Wow, this is riveting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's your favorite host of The Price is Right, Ben?
Rest in peace, Bob Barker.
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
your pay.
I never thought any of those shows would
spayed and
last.
neutered.
They just keep lasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, who watches this crap? But then I would watch it.
And then millions of people did,
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah.
Most everybody's a kid vomited to Bob Barker.
Oh, yeah.
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 Like you stayed
What?
home sick from school and threw up during the day
Oh.
with
Yeah,
Bob
I watched
Barker.
soap opera. You
I
have to
did
watch
not
Bob.
know where that was going, to be honest with you. Vomited to Bob Barker is just a real gross situation.
No, I remember being home quite a few days sick watching Bob Barker and
Yeah.
then Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and got
Oh.
my pet neutered.
Because Bob said so?
Yeah. He ended every show with that.
That's stone
Pay and
cold.
neuter your pets, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Boy, it's only left turns today from
I
you,
got the
Dan.
neighbors done, too.
I just started picking up animals on the way in.
It's a buy two, get
This
two
one's for
free.
Bob.
I need two more pets.
Listen here, if you have the punch card at the Spay Clinic, there's something
You
wrong
adopt
with your
too
life.
much.
Yeah, it's
For
not right.
Bob and for freedom.
It's like we saw like a billboard for
Vasectomy.
well, that too. Well, gosh, buy one get one free.
Come on, dude. You got to do this with me.
So we saw a buy one get one free billboard for a crematorium.
Whoa.
Whoa, what?
That's terrible.
Like it was like a referral program.
Hey, you want to...
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
what?
Do you have a body you need to dispose of?
Okay.
Also,
How would you like to be the one holdout sibling who's trying to get a deal on this thing where you're like, look, I know that you want to bury Uncle right now, but if we could just wait till Grandma kicks it, we can get this
we
at
can
half
get
the
this
price.
done. Put them in a freezer for a bit; it'll be fine.
You can stay at your house.
Now wait a minute.
You
Don't-
have no idea how long they can just hang out
Do
on
they
a
have to
board.
been done at the same time?
Yeah, no. Don't you
Yeah.
think that you're pre-buying?
I don't know. Like I
plots?
didn't call them.
Like cemetery plots.
I didn't call like interesting. Tell me more.
How do I get in on this ground floor
Do I need
This
a
is
coupon?
genius marketing.
before this offer turns to dust?
Yeah. Also, billboards for discount vasectomies scares me a lot.
Also, if you put your picture on there, like I want to see the guy face to face is going to do this.
Yeah, if your name is Dr. Johnson and you are the one doing half off vasectomies, there's just I don't want to be involved in your situation. Like I don't think I'm gonna call that number.
All right, you're listening. That's unfortunate that you've chosen to listen to Live from the Path. There's 10 minutes of your life you're just not going to get back. You might as well go ahead and book that crematorium now. Here's what we got going. I'm not even sure what we have going on the show tonight. Buva, you had some Ask the Pastor?
Yeah, I haven't asked the pastor from Jeremiah. I think the answer is going to be quick and easy. I think I found the answer, admittedly, but there was a phrase in Jeremiah 7, verse 18, that talks about a certain character that I've never heard of. And I think I was classifying it as a character when it's probably more of a cultural reference at the time. So, like, when we're ready, I'll read that to you.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. And then we got some advice on Dear Live from the Path. And,
I mean, I have a not Pope style, but tales from my experiences over the last couple of weeks that I can certainly share if we have some time.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. Did anybody have anything else?
I have at least one excellent Dear Life from the Path that I'm very excited about.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Dan would like to talk more about spaghetti westerns.
I love spaghetti westerns.
Wait, is that the term, or is spaghetti western like Italian westerns?
I've never heard that term in my life.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no, that's the term.
Is it?
That's the term, yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was like a thing
Spaghetti.
of like Italian shot western movies.
Yeah, maybe. I watched westerns like when I was a kid, but like I just can't. I've tried to, and I'm like,
I don't think westerns were really my generation.
Yeah.
Admittedly, like
It
Bonanza
skipped, like,
wasn't a thing, and neither was like whatever the other ones. I couldn't name a single other one, but
Now,
I think
Planet
it's
of the
coming back.
Apes, we can have a conversation. But
The Mark Wahlberg one, or the what is it, Charlton Heston?
Charlton Heston.
oh yeah, Charlton's all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
would invite you to get to check out Rio Bravo or Rio Grande or The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. It's got John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart in it. It's good.
Oh, okay,
it's good.
cool.
Just pick one here and there.
Well, give it a shot.
All right, now, Booba, let's ask the pastor.
Okay. So I was reading Jeremiah this last week, and there is a portion where the Lord is talking through Jeremiah, obviously, to his people. And in chapter 7, it's so far in the book, it's been the same kind of basic perspective of calling Jeremiah to speak the Lord's words, and then really just Jeremiah calling out worshiping the wrong people or the wrong gods. And so in chapter 7, the context doesn't really help too much here, so I'll skip a lot of it and just kind of read verse 18. So verse 18 in chapter 7 says, "The children gather wood, the fathers kindle fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. And they pour out drink offerings to other gods to provoke me to anger." And so when I heard that Queen of Heaven thing, it kind of threw me off. Because
Was it capitalized?
no capitalization there.
What was the verse again?
Chapter 7, verse 18.
Okay.
So the children gather wood, the fathers kindle fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. And they pour out drink offerings to other gods to provoke me to anger.
Okay.
And so at first when I heard that, it seemed like it was a character, maybe an Old Testament character that I just wasn't recognizing or maybe wasn't remembering. But then kind of taking the context into it, one, I think heaven in this context really just is like the sky and all the heavenly bodies, right? Whereas like this may just be a deity. Like the Queen of Heaven just may be another god that they're worshiping. That's what it felt like to me after I took a little bit more time to kind of keep reading it and keep looking at context. But I just wanted to make certain that I wasn't missing like an Old Testament thing here, that like this is a reference to a specific person. Well, maybe not person,
like
but
a band or something.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, is there something that I'm missing here when this is the first time I've seen this verbiage and then looking for it anywhere else? I think it's called out again in Jeremiah 44 and I think again in 48. If I remember correctly. But I didn't find Queen of Heaven specifically anywhere else. And so that's where it kind of made sense to me that maybe this is a cultural thing at that time, that it was a specific deity that they were worshiping, kind of like Baal is called out in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. That's a specific, or Molech kind of situation. So I wasn't certain because it didn't have a name like that. Just Queen of Heaven. If you'd ever run into that, if you had any thoughts on that or any explanation that I may not know. So that's this week's Ask the Pastor from my reading is, what the heck's going on with the Queen of Heaven that Jeremiah is talking about in chapter 7?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. This actually, the context does matter, because the context of Jeremiah 7 is a critique to the nation of Israel,
Right.
and he's talking about the detestable things. Let's see, go to the place in Shiloh. Let's see. Therefore, what I did in Shiloh, and now do to the house of Israel, I will thrust you from my
I
presence.
was going to say, he like crushed Shiloh.
Yeah, he says, don't pray for this people, no offer any plea or petition for them. Do not plead with me, for I will not listen. Do you not see what they are doing in the towns of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? And then that's the verse you said.
Yep.
Make cakes to offer to the queen of heaven. But am I the one they are provoking, declares the Lord? Are they not rather harming themselves to their own shame? Like, it's a critique against their false idols.
Yep,
Like,
okay.
In fact, the last thing they said was, after it says, must make cakes to offer to the queen. Oh, I forgot to change camera. Make cakes to offer to the queen of heaven. They pour out drink offerings to other gods to arouse my anger.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just making certain that there wasn't like another cultural, not even deity, but like a royalty that they're calling out, because specifically it says Queen of Heaven. I didn't know if that was a cultural thing that's going on there, or if that was another name for a deity that may exist that they're worshiping. And so I just wanted to make certain that it wasn't something I was missing. Like I said, it wasn't a super deep one that took a lot. I just wanted to make certain I wasn't missing anything there. So that makes sense. That it's essentially just it's a deity that they're following. I looked into a little bit, just kind of more Google outside of my Bible commentary stuff.
I'm kind of curious.
Ishtar is what they were saying might be. So the queen of fertility, where Easter, the name comes from.
Okay.
Because Ishtar was Egyptian, I believe.
Yeah, so Strong says that in fact it says identification dubious. Perhaps Ishtar, Venus.
So Venus is also fertility and beauty, Roman.
That's because most of the gods, like goddesses, had a relationship. Like the key goddesses in multiple things referred to that.
Exactly. Yeah. The pantheons were usually fertility and then wisdom. In a lot of places too. Yeah.
So yes, I agree. I think it's It probably is not profitable to speculate.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it, again, because it popped up a couple times, and like I just read through 44 as well, so I heard it again. That's why I was just like, I want to make certain, because it seemed weird that was the only place that I saw that specific verbiage of Queen of Heaven, and I was like, obviously heaven's a buzzword for us, and I think we correlate that word too much to like what we believe is the biblical place for where God exists, right? Whereas heavens are also talking about space and like stars and stuff like that as well. So
although like there are in some of the translations of the underlying words, a lot of the even the false gods have a heaven referent, like even Beelzebub or Baalzebub, Zebub. That's not right.
We hated it.
Zebul. I was thinking Zebul.
Wow.
Anyway,
spend a lot more time with that,
it's Lord of the height. Like it can mean the height. So like, which is weird because actually there's multiple between Beelzebub and Beelzebul. You've got Lord of the height and then Lord of the flies or Lord of the dung. So like it's like two different.
Oh.
But like. It's Beelzebul that they don't often translate it this way, but like one of the options is Lord of the heights or the heights.
Interesting.
So heavens.
Yeah, right.
Think of it the same way, which correlates the and that first part is like Baal, like the Canaanite god Baal.
Right.
Same kind of root, which is really just Lord. Owner of, Lord of. It's a possessive.
Right.
So
interesting.
The Jews kind of added that twist of the flies in there as an extra little insult.
Your Lord is the Lord of a dung heap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Good job, guys.
Way to go.
Yeah. This is who you worship. You worship a god of poop.
Yes.
You think about it, like all the goddesses and the things we were mentioning. That there's so much sexual immorality in the Old Testament that deals with worship. And you think of like our culture today. Well, we don't have idols, but yet obviously we're worshiping like all the porn addiction and the sexual morality is just so free and wild and flowing. You think if there was a modern day prophet, if God were saying, "Hey, Jeremiah, write to these guys," how would he verbalize that? I wonder. Would it come out in the name of a Queen of the Earth or whatever, Queen of the Heavens,
right.
Or,
Yeah.
we're like we're not thinking of it that way,
right?
You wonder, were they thinking of it that way? Were they just like, hey, here's how I can hook up with her? I can say, hey,
right?
I don't know. I just
no, that makes sense.
Well, it's a good question.
Okay. Well, cool. I appreciate that.
Of which we have no answer.
No, and like I said, as I was presenting it, I figured it was going to be a quick enough answer, but I just wanted to be certain that I was not looking at it shallowly, that I was missing a reference that I could then, because I realize, and not to get into another topic or anything, but I realize one of the flaws of my reading in the past has been the lack of connections that I make. And like, I'm very fortunate that right now that like at church, we're talking through Matthew, and at the same time, I'm going through Old Testament stuff where I've never done both at the same time. And I'm starting to see a lot of similarities between like the kind of things that Jesus is talking about that are relevant. I mean, because obviously he's talking to the Jews who would have been able to make these connections. Like they grew up learning these stories and knowing this stuff. This was the history of their people. And it's very prevalent in their minds of like when Jesus says something that's either completely seems to be stepping in the face or stepping on the feet of someone or something that happened in the Old Testament, or fulfilling something with his words or expounding on it and going, you may have understood that up to this point, but I, as the one who is a master of this law, can tell you this kind of thing about it. And so it's been interesting to be able to go, what kind of connections am I drawing through the prophets and through these kind of things that this makes sense to be something that might have already happened or I know will happen eventually. And so it's been a really cool read through of being able to go like, oh, this is the first time that I feel at a very shallow level, admittedly, and I'm excited to dive deeper into it as I grow up and mature in my faith, to be able to kind of make those correlations that go, oh, that I recognize that promise. Or they're talking about David. What do I think of when I think of David? Like, what does that mean to me when David's mentioned? The line of David, what does that mean? These random kings that I would have never been able to pull apart and go, oh, I remember because that dude did this thing, and that's what happened with Israel at that time. And it's been really cool to be able to like have a more expansive understanding of those things by drawing those connections between things that might have happened generations before the thing that I'm reading, and then things that I know are going to come to pass generations after that. And so it's been this really cool, I mean, it's a beautiful and incredibly interconnected story that God has woven. And I'm starting to kind of see the depth of it very shallowly again, but like I'm starting to see it, and I'm really excited about that.
Seeing the depth very shallowly is an ironic thing to say. Yeah.
Well, realizing that like I see it and I recognize that there's so much more to see.
Yeah. Okay.
And that pumps me up.
Yeah, I'm getting pumped. You're listening to Live from the Path.
Jack.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey, here's we go. Got a quick, we're going to do some advice and tuck this thing up righteous since we wasted the first 10 minutes of your life. But first, we're going to check on 7 common Christian beliefs that aren't in the Bible.
Oh, no.
And we're going to say which one of these Dan holds.
God don't bless no math.
God don't make no trash.
God don't make no trash.
Okay, here we go. Number 1. Satan was once Lucifer.
Satan was once Lucifer.
Okay. This is a translation issue.
Like
the fall of Satan from heaven has become deeply entrenched in Christian thought, but the origins of the devil are not found anywhere in the Bible. In fact, Satan is not even used as a proper name in the Old Testament. Instead, the Hebrew ha-satan is a title meaning simply the adversary.
Yeah.
The devil is not truly named and hell not really described until the New Testament. That's true. Milton's Paradise Lost is largely responsible for the idea that Satan was once an angel called Lucifer, but many people have hunted for Bible verses to back up this belief. Luke 10:18 is sometimes cited, as is Revelation 12, in support of this theory. Neither of these, however, state that Satan was once an angel. Luke 10 merely states that Satan fell, but in context, this statement does not necessarily confirm that the devil was once an angel. Similarly, Revelation describes a dragon that hunts God's faithful, but nowhere does it state that this dragon is either a fallen angel or the devil.
Isn't there some Old Testament that points to like the rebellion and whatever?
No, so and I'm going to forget where it's at, but that's the fall of the king of Babylon.
Ezekiel, is it?
Yeah. And so like he fell like stars. Star fell from heaven, like and people look at that and that they describe that as like, oh well, that was the fall of Satan and the
stars
angels
are
from heaven.
supposed to be the angelic host.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah, Dan loves it.
I'm in.
He loves it, except for there's no biblical precedent for it at all. And contextually in Ezekiel, like it's a word picture for the fall of Babylon. Like for every other place you talk about falling stars, it's a picture. It's not a literal event.
Things that were at heights have fallen.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, like the multiple places in Ezekiel and Isaiah where they're talking about a third of the sky fell, the stars fell. It's all about the fall of a particular empire. And so contextually, I just for me, I don't have any reason to think that it applies there. It's pouring an awful lot into the text that is contextually not there. And frankly, it's only a few verses. Like you have to ignore everything that happened before and after that to get that part to fit.
Is there... Well, because so Genesis 7 or 9 is the Nephilim, right? Like that's angelic beings that have, or 6, have like.
I read that one every day.
That's on my wall.
How dare you attribute it to 7?
I'm just excited that I knew it was relatively early on in Genesis.
I like to do a deep, shallow dive. Maybe it's chapter 9.
Deep, shallow dive.
Whatever. Verse 10.
The message was conveyed with my meaning. Yes, it was whatever.
Philosophizing
it was
Booba.
oxymoronic, but whatever. But like, isn't that also like a fall of angelic creatures at that point in time? Wasn't that the concept of the Nephilim?
Well, that gets back to what you think the Nephilim is,
right? And we've talked about that recently.
But even if you want to accept that the Nephilim are like a mix of angelic creatures and earthly creatures, it doesn't prescribe how they got there.
True. Yeah.
They could, because the picture of Satan in Job is walking to and fro on the earth.
Right,
he's obviously able to go into heaven. There's a freedom to that. He wasn't kicked out.
Right.
Like there was he was able to do that thing. And so again, we get to that space with the Nephilim because of presumption on Satan.
Okay.
And again, I don't know, Dan. What is there? Okay, I see you're in, but why?
You don't have to know that.
Why do you think that?
Just trust me.
Okay. Okay.
And buy this golden eagle statue, who will be the place of Jesus in your home.
Give $1,000 to be at the apostle level.
What am I supposed to fly? Commercial? There's demons in there.
Actually,
you expect me to be on a metal tube?
You know what's funny? I was watching back on something like our anniversary clips for the 1 year anniversary. I was showing it to the kids, and like one of the clips.
1 year?
Yeah, from our 1 year. Because I only did 2. I did a 1 year and a 2 year, and that's it. So anyway, one of them was we were talking about Dan's job when he was younger, like selling pagan Christmas items for a job. I was like, well, that's what I did.
Guy does what he has to do.
Can I interest you in this pagan tree symbol?
Until Paul came into town and says, you can't keep selling these wares.
Okay. All right. So Dan's in for number 1. Good. We got one. Oh, boy. Are these all about Satan? Here we go.
Probably.
Number 2, Hasatan the serpent. The serpent in the Garden of Eden is one of the only 2 talking animals in the Bible.
Is it that and then the donkey of Absalom?
And the donkey.
What about all the animals in Revelation? And what about that
angelic beasts that are singing in the throne room?
Yeah, and that wheelie, that wheelie, super-eyed, messed up creature that's in Isaiah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Some of the throne room
picture of the wheel.
What's the guy like? 2 heads or something? 2 horse heads.
No, well, the throne room,
the cherubim, the seraphim.
The throne room animals, like there's a lion and an ox and
I thought that was like more.
It is
beings of like eyes and wings and.
Yes.
Each head represents a thing.
Why don't you guys just ruin every cool Bible story that people ever thought they knew?
I'm not taking away the power of that. It's a super cool thing to think about from the perspective of all the things and what they mean and what's present in the throne room that is also then pouring out nothing but worship to God.
You know what was cool?
These beings
a multi-eyed lion. That was cool.
These beings that are all-knowing and see everything are still, with witness to all of this, still witness to the fact that the most important thing to talk about is the holiness and power of God.
You know what you guys are like? It's like when I go to an art gallery and I'm bored to tears, and I finally find a painting where I'm like, this looks super cool. And then some yuppie shows up with a macchiato and goes, there's deeper relative meaning behind this mountain sculpture. I'm like, dang it, I don't want to hear any of this. I just want to look at this painting and go, wow.
You do seem like the kind of guy that would walk up to a mountain and go, that seems like a cool thing. And then someone comes out, that actually represents the struggle of humans when they come to the civilization. Shut up, friend. I just wanted to see that the mountain was tall.
Black, I say.
Okay, this cunning snake is the cause of the original sin and the first troublemaker. Considering that this reptile is the one who throws a monkey wrench in God's plan for creation, most Christians believe that the serpent was none other than Satan. Unfortunately, for this long and deeply held belief, there's absolutely nothing in the Bible to back up this idea. The snake is simply a snake in Genesis. It is a crafty creature who causes a great deal of trouble, but is never described as the devil. The belief that it was Satan came later. In Genesis 3:14, like later in the scripture.
Yeah, but where does
right?
What the heck?
See, I'm in 100%.
Where do you get
God shows up later on and goes,
where would you get the opposition of creation? Right? Like creation is in opposition to what God's will is. Now, I never understood this metaphor as like Satan being in there, because then I get mad that he unjustly punish the snake. I'm like, well, if it wasn't the snake's idea and it was actually Hasatan, then why would you take his legs away? That seems unfair.
But the mountain is so tall.
God does what he wants.
They just want to divide us on that snake issue.
It's a herpetology situation.
Yeah, so like this one is completely unlike the previous one.
No, that one's good too.
This one completely ignores multiple points of context reference throughout the Old Testament,
Right.
Including the Evangelion. Ben?
Evangelion?
Yeah, the Evangelion.
No, stop saying that.
Ewan McGregor
But
Gillian.
like the biblical writers following the Torah, like so Psalms and prophets and stuff, they point back to this, and they're the ones that are filling in the picture of the puzzle here. And like, if you're going to say, oh, well, that stuff happened later, like through editorial revision, then you're calling into question the validity of, say, Ezekiel holistically. And so, like, I don't think you can do that. I think it doesn't have to be spoken all in the same spot to be biblically valid. Not everything has to be said at all. In fact, you see this a lot, actually. They get pictures in Genesis, and then all of a sudden you see like other future events and prophets interacting with Genesis, and they're like revealing new information or additional context to something. You're like, oh, why didn't I know that back then? Well, it wasn't important for the trajectory of the narrative at that point, but it was important now that they're talking about it.
Do you realize that we do this all the time, and then we take it for granted? People are like, hey, man, there's like black holes just suck each other in, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole galaxy gone, and we're like, wow. And no one goes, show me your data. I want to know what you mean scientifically. And they're like, I'm not even going to start to try to explain it to you, dumb public. You just take my word for it. These black holes are here.
Like
and we're like, whoa, that sounds great.
Singularity where we can measure antimatter. And those singularities of antimatter have negative gravitational pulls that pull each other in. It's like, what?
People go, hey, this virus is spread through touch and sneezing and also this other means or whatever. And people are like, okay. Like, we're not like, well, what's the jumping distance of this thing? Or like, how fast does a sneeze have to go? Ain't nobody asking none of that. They're like, well, they done said, yeah, we're just going to take, like, we do this all the time. Yeah. I'm saying people who know, I think this is the situation. People are like, why didn't God tell me? Because you don't care. And you're not even going to understand even if he did. Right? What's God supposed to say? Well, there was this big spiritual thing happening, and like, I could explain it to you, but you're just going to be aghast at it anyway, not believe a lick of it, no matter how much I tell you. So whatever. There's just a snake causing trouble. That's all you're getting.
Yeah. I think you could be open to like, well, what does it mean? That the snake was Satan? Like, was it actually him? Was it influenced by him? Was overtaken by him? Like, I think there's options in there.
Does not like, feel wrong that God punished the snake, though? Who's with me on this thing?
The snake is not aware that it's been punished. It enjoys itself.
So it's an idiot? That's what you're saying?
That's a weird jump of logic.
The defense
the
of
snake
God's...
doesn't miss his legs. It doesn't know.
It
just slithers and goes, whoa!
Well, that would be question. Does the beaver miss wings because he's not a bird? No, the beaver enjoys himself as well.
You've never read Genesis, man. The beaver never had wings.
You're getting off topic. The defense of God's justice served against the snake is too dumb to know the difference.
Yeah, that was Ben's argument.
I don't think the curse was against the snake. I think the curse is against Satan.
The snake ain't got no legs, Ben. There ain't no snake legs, man.
The curse was against Satan.
No snake legs, man.
It's part of Satan's old binding. It's part of Satan's restrictions on the things he can and cannot do.
So that's not an argument for why we have reptiles that have feet.
No.
And snakes don't.
No.
No.
You crawl on your belly.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. That's exactly what I thought this whole time.
No, I don't think so.
I've always thought, oh, well, that explains why we have lizards
thing.
and we have snakes.
There's plenty of places who revere the snake. And doesn't Moses say? He holds
the Caduce
up
staff.
Yeah, why do you say Ka-doosh? What are you saying that?
Caduce staff is what it's called.
Why do they call it that? What's a Caduceus?
Who calls it that?
That's what the name. It's the name of the Hermes
not
staff.
In the Bible.
I don't even own a Ka-doosh.
What's a Hermes?
That's
the staff.
I had Hermes
that had two snakes wrapped around its base that meet at the head of the staff is called the Caduce staff.
Yes, but what is a Ka-doosh?
I don't know. I don't know what. I'm just telling you that's what it is.
I'm gonna Google it. Don't put me in a spot.
Hey,
how do you spell Ka-doosh?
You keep the filter on.
Ka-doosh.
Ka-doosh.
Caduces.
Yeah. Ka-doosh. No nudity.
EU.
Type it.
Caduceus. Here we go.
Thank you.
I didn't say it didn't. I didn't say it was wrong. I don't know what it means.
You kept saying Ka-doosh.
Hold on.
Yes, I did.
It's an ancient Greek or Roman herald's wand, typically one with two serpents twined around it, carried by the messenger, lowercase g god Hermes. Or Mercury.
Hermes?
Yeah.
Hermes or Mercury?
How did you say Hermes?
That's what it says. It says Hermes.
It does not.
Yes, Hermes was the messenger that carried the staff. He was the messenger for the pantheon of the Greek gods.
You seem to know a lot
Mercury-
about these pagan gods.
I do, because I studied a lot of Greek mythology when I
Why
was
is
a
that
kid.
the same thing?
But I'm saying it's the same staff that is a staff represented by healing that had the two snakes that wrapped around it, because like wasn't the staff that Moses was carrying like a staff that healed of a plague? Snake bites. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Greek mythology has a similar story where it was a medical. There's a reason that's the staff that's used for medical practices.
Oh, I know. Asclepius had that too. Like
because of Moses' staff.
Oh yeah.
But it's a similar staff story.
Except for the
healing.
Moses thing really happened. The Hermes is a made up story.
Yeah, the Hermeses.
You should call it the Moses staff, not the Ka-doosh.
I won't call it the Caduce like Booba does.
Yeah.
Never in my life did I think I'd be mocked for knowing the name of the staff.
You know, a lot of stuff is not necessary to know.
Hey, Bova, you were right. Ka-doosh.
You scholarly pagan. It didn't belong to Moses. It belonged to Hermes.
Why did you go?
He carries.
Why was that the
the
first
Caduce.
time you attempted a British accent on this show? It belonged to the Hermes.
That's what you sound like to me.
Hermes, the messenger of the gods, would carry up the staff to Mount Olympus.
He's a phony god.
Paul talked about Zeus.
The Hermes.
He fell on his Ka-doosh. All right.
The Caduce could not produce water.
This
He
is
must be-
high quality internet content is what this is.
You've got to tap the rock. You've got to tap it with the Hermes.
I just want
Ask Bova.
I want a retelling of all Greek mythological tales.
I gotta go.
By Mike.
I gotta get out of here.
And this man Zeus, he was with a cow named Io.
The legs were taken from the snake unjustifiably.
And the Lord said, "No more legs for you. Dilly, you will no longer have legs."
The snake protested. Why does the ass get to talk?
He remains that I am legless.
This is like a Monty Python skit that is just evolving from YouTube.
Okay,
I saw fruit. I invited others.
See that I here am legless?
I don't. I just wanted to be friendly.
Sign my petition against the Lord. I once had legs where there are none now.
You wrap me on a stick and you know you what? You parade me in front of others.
Touch the snake, you will be healed of the snake bite. That makes no sense.
All right, we got to get out of this, Ben.
7. Okay, we should hold on. Let me pick one. 7 archangels. Anybody in on that one?
Where's it?
7 Oh gosh, no.
That's from the Revelation, yeah?
No.
No.
The 4 winds.
It's mostly from
No.
Enoch.
Okay.
Like the Book of Enoch?
We should call what's his name? He'd come in here and talk about it.
Yeah.
The Hebrews.
The Hebrews.
Yeah.
I thought that was Dante.
Sheol is hell.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
A pit.
it's a place of the dead. It's a place of the dead.
It's where my legs went.
the Old Testament talks about Sheol in both a positive and negative connotation. Like it isn't like when it says "go with your fathers," like that's what it means, and it doesn't mean bad, but it sometimes means bad. And so it's like a flexible place of the dead that's not. It's in the same realm of thought, but it's not the same thing as when Jesus is talking about.
Gotcha.
Hell.
Okay.
So the risk more so is equating when you hear Jesus talk about hell, and then you prescribe that as every time they speak about Sheol in the Old Testament that you say it's the same. That's really the risk. But like obviously the place of the dead has to have some relevance to what Jesus is talking about. Okay. Let's see. Satan in the Old Testament. If the Bible were approached, well, yeah, he's definitely in there. What does this one say? If the Bible were approached as a piece of literature, Satan would feature as a major antagonist in the New Testament. Contrary to popular Christian belief, however, the devil is not present in the Old Testament, at least not as Christians would understand him. The entity described in both the book of Zechariah and the book of Job is Hasatan, the adversary, the accuser. Satan is not treated as a proper name, but as a title or job description. This character could be Satan with small s. The idea that the devil of Christian thought is absent in the Old Testament makes sense when the context surrounding Hasatan's appearance is examined. In Zechariah, Hasatan is described as standing at God's right hand, not exactly where the personification of evil would be found. Similar in the book of Job, Hasatan is one of the heavenly beings who present themselves before the Lord. God does not dismiss Hasatan or rebuke him. Instead, God asks for a status report. Far from the evil entity of the New Testament, the Hasatan of the Old Testament acts more as a prosecuting attorney or administrator of tests.
I don't know in Job if he was asking for a status report. I always felt like he was giving him a roast, like, where you been?
Well, yeah, he is framed as an antagonist in that story.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bet against his faithful one.
Yeah, so like I think this is the second time where like even if you want to cover it like the letter of like you nitpicked or you picked certain places selectively as to where, but like it ignores the framing of the story in Job. It's obviously Yahweh on one spot, Satan is on the other.
Yeah.
The adversary, whatever, the adversary is over here, and then they are in a tussle about like he's provoking Yahweh about Job. And so, like, yeah, I think that's just a poor.
So the arguments that is the Satan that is present within the New Testament, like tempting Jesus at the top of the temple and things like that, is not present in the Old Testament.
Yes,
that's what they're saying.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Now, I think that's wrong. Well, obviously, it's wrong on both accounts. Although I do think we risk over-indexing on how much we actually do know about the adversary.
Right.
I think it is clear within Scripture that there is a primary one. Which whether you're getting it, him, they at any given time versus some other adversary of God, including notions of false gods, demonic false gods. Like you should be open because what does it matter? So I think the caricature, and we've talked about this before, of the devil, Satan, or whatever is
big horns,
is different than the reality. But you should just be open on something.
And the New Testament writers were like they gained all of their scriptural references from the Old Testament. So they like just because the Satan is mentioned quite a bit in the New Testament in comparison, like the New Testament writers are using like that presence as if it's always been. Right, when they speak about it. Yeah, although what's interesting is that like most of the time you're speaking. So take what we learn where we learn the most about Satan is through Jesus. So like Jesus is speaking about Satan and describing him. He's like he's revealed when he's tempting Jesus, but that's a just Jesus to Satan thing.
Yep, right.
The dangers of hell. Like Jesus talks about hell more than anybody else. Like that's where we actually get a fuller theology around it. And then the New Testament writers that come after Jesus' death fill in things related to those things, but the primary teachings are coming from Jesus. So I do think it's probably fair to say that most of the New Testament speech, like our understanding of Satan, comes from Jesus's further explanation that isn't necessarily prescriptive or extrapolated from the Old Testament. But I think it's information that Jesus has. That he seems to know that he's basically it's a revealing. He's helping to understand some of those things that weren't always clear. Because and wouldn't that make sense? Like there's things that Jesus obviously has a greater line into than even the people who are writing Old Testament stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll call it a day on this article. I thought this was interesting though. The guy, whoever wrote this is the description. Stephanie Herzenberg is a former writer and editor at BeliefNet.
Former.
Isn't this weird? So this is on BeliefNet. So that means one of two things is true. Either she's not writing anymore in general, and they wanted to make sure everyone knew that in the presence of her writing. Right. Or secondly, she used to write for BeliefNet, no longer does, and they retroactively edited her articles to make it clear that she was a former writer at BeliefNet.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
What a stupid thing to say.
That's weird.
Okay.
We had a falling out.
Yeah, I could see it. Well, how old is? Well, let me see how old this article is. Oh, it doesn't say. It's undated. Could have been from years ago.
Ka-doosh.
Okay. All right. You're listening live from the path. Hey, what kind of wacky things do you believe, sir? that aren't in the scriptures.
Kind of wacky things
Why don't you let us know? 515-517.
I've got magic underpants.
0085.
And I've been told things.
All right. Let's do let's give some advice. We should.
Dear Live from the Path, I am 36, still single and depressed about it. Oh. I recently met someone who seemed perfect. He has his own place with laundry facilities. And his job is the kind where he doesn't have a bunch of other people in his life. So when he asked me over, I went. I thought, Because our friends and family were similar, his values would be too.
Uh-oh.
I expected he would want to get to know me and have a conversation, but he went right for kissing.
Oh.
I'm so disappointed. Then he told me he doesn't want a relationship. Why did he do that? Why do they want to kiss but then not have a relationship?
She's 36.
What is this human?
We're not done.
Okay.
Does he prefer to sit at home each night alone and enjoy someone only on Saturdays? What is that? I want someone all the time in my life, like a married couple has. My parents are still together. They had a few problems along the way, but they are still together. Why are the men I meet not marriage material?
What kind of person are you?
I'm not gonna make it.
That your first description of this man is he lives in a place with laundry services.
He went right for the kissing.
Right.
Why would he do that?
Yeah, because you're one of 7 on the roster.
I don't know, man.
He only
I'm
wants
mystified.
to. He only wants to kiss a person on a Saturday. No, he's got a Sunday through Friday already.
These are very boxed in options. Like either someone wants to marry me or they only want to kiss on Saturday. Like, this is weird.
But when do I get to use the laundry facility?
Do you think? No, okay. In all seriousness, is it possible that there's something not firing on all cylinders for this lady?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Something's not there.
Okay.
She's
Yeah, which I mean, I suppose probably sucks all the possible comedy out of our response.
Here's the deal. Hold fast to your belief that you deserve something better than this fella. You're right. You absolutely do. And that sometimes sucks because holding that belief and that standard eliminates a vast majority of society that you're going to run into. Doesn't mean that everyone in the world is not worth the time or is going to try and uphold your standards and help you with that. I wish you nothing but the best for finding somebody. Just keep focused on being a good person or trying to be a good person. And find Jesus, because that's more important than anything else I just said.
I feel like you need
Ka-doosh.
there's some things that you can't do on your own, right? And so, like, if you need help from a good friend that can help you deduce what qualities you're looking for in a man, I think there's no shame in that game. Like, the positives that you listed are very superficial positives, right? Like, he's got his own place. It has laundry. He invited you over. Your family and friends know each other, so you assume you had the same morals. Like, these are all just, they're very superficial things. You don't know a whole lot about them. Like, and maybe before you just meet somebody over at their place, maybe you should go out on a date, like at a restaurant.
True.
Where people can behave themselves and you can see how they interact with other people to see if it's something that you're willing to pursue. But yeah, I would definitely bring in some third party advice if you feel like you're not taking in. But like if this was a huge surprise to you, I don't know that you're taking in the situation correctly. So you might want to like get yourself a good friend, a family member, somebody that you think you can trust to help you try to steer some facts in a way that would make some sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, Secular says, when searching for a relationship, there's more to take into consideration than how nice the man's apartment is, whether it has laundry facilities, and how many coworkers he may have at his job. The man you met may have thought you were interested in hookup because you went to his place without first getting to know him in a neutral setting, as most women do these days. Where are you meeting these prospects? You might have better luck if you find activities you both enjoy where you can meet both people of both sexes with whom you share similar interests. If you do, your chance of meeting quality people will increase.
Okay.
What okay?
Just okay.
Huh. Well,
Riveting information.
Let's okay, that one's tucked up.
all right. Well, here
Let's
we
go
go.
with what's next, Mike?
I guess we'll move on. Good thing we don't charge by the hour. Well, that about tucks it up. Better get out of the office.
Hey, man, I got a nice apartment with laundry services to get back to. Okay.
And he's got a job where there's not very many people. Well, boy, howdy.
That's true. I'm significantly underselling my situation.
This is an incredibly naive person.
You know what? I feel like I should put myself back on the market. Now that I know all these things about myself, I should be able to catch any woman. Hello, I'm Mike. I have a washer. And I work with very few people. Oh, Mike.
Don't swoon heavy. I didn't bring a cushion.
All right, second one. Dear, live from the path. I love to travel. Yet I loathe traveling with my husband.
Oh.
He gets anxious and extremely mean on the days leading up to the trip, and especially while en route. I do all the planning and pay for everything, and I regard it not only ungrateful and rude, but unnecessary. Is it wrong for me to not want him to come on the next big trip I plan? Also, while we travel, all he wants to do is sleep, eat, and drink. I'm all about taking in the local culture and making sure not to miss anything. I also enjoy a glass of wine with dinner, but I don't want to drink into oblivion, and I'm definitely not up for sleeping my vacation away. My husband does have a drinking problem as well. We can talk about that later.
Okay.
Before I booked our last trip, I begged him to please not ruin it. Our children were going to be with us, and he promised to be on his best behavior. That lasted until the day before we left. Then it was like the mean switch flipped on. Before we even left for the airport, all he did was yell and complain about the airline, parking, packing, etc. I'm at my wit's end. The one time I did travel alone, he told the kids I didn't like any of them, and that's why I went alone. Jeez. He refuses counseling and seems not to understand why I don't want to be around him. He also, quote, spares no expense on my dime when we are on vacation. He acts as if we are loaded. Help.
Okay.
What?
How did you find each other?
Yeah, so, well, let's be... You've picked a really weird thing to focus on. This, like, your whole marriage is a shambles.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know if I want to go on vacation with him. Like, how about we don't get along at all? For some reason, we're tussling over bank accounts. Bad. Like, when you're talking about my money and things like that on vacation,
right,
it's a fail. If you leave, if you're not in his presence at all times, he's willing to lie to your children and manipulate them into that you dislike them, assuming your version of the reality is right. And frankly, I'm holding open the possibility that's not, and you're lying about him.
Right.
Either way, I would put the vacation problem at, like, I don't know, about halfway down the list of things of which you should be openly seeking advice on.
Yeah, you guys might need to go to a marriage counselor to talk about the fact that you can't stand each other.
He refuses to go.
No, he refuses to go to counseling on his own part because she's saying, hey, you have problems, go get them fixed. She is not admitting that there's any possible fault that she holds in any of this situation and that this marriage is just a real crap hole that she's stuck in and she's great and he's awful. She pays for everything. She goes on extravagant trips. She's not a drunkard. She's blah, 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 all these different things qualifying him as the exact antithesis of all of those to be the worst possible human being on the planet. But what's probably true is you both suck in certain ways because you're both humans and you're in a long marriage, possibly from the perspective of you have kids old enough for dad to tell them that mom doesn't like them anymore, right? Like, there's a chance you guys need to just kind of strike it back down to zero of, like, you're in a marriage and it doesn't seem like either of you are happy at all. And it might be because you both suck individually, and bringing two people that suck individually and are full of themselves into a marriage doesn't spell great.
Yeah, I mean, he did. Yeah, she didn't mention, and it seems possible that he drinks himself to oblivion because she's terrible to be around.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, he gets real angry going to different countries with me because I suck even worse in a vacation setting.
Right.
I mean,
I like to take in the culture, and all he likes to do is eat, sleep, and drink. That's what everyone does on a vacation.
He might be firing this out light, and she might be taking it heavy, right? Like, that's probably my favorite thing to do on vacations. Be like, oh, this airline, look at this. Look at all these lines. Look at this taxi line. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you are the kind of guy that's part of the fun for you is to be the curmudgeon.
What do you mean we can only have a bag and a half? What am I supposed to do with a half a bag? These guys.
I weighed this at home. It was 49.7 pounds. Your scale's off.
I mean, this is what I would do on vacation. And I'm like, my wife takes it pretty light and be like, it's just Mike being ridiculous.
It's because the Lord blessed you with a wonderful woman who knows you and loves you.
That's not wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, Dan. What do you think here?
I think she's describing a typical husband and wife going on vacation, because I mean it's a little bit expanded, but there's just a lot of stress for some reason. I mean, I've heard 1,000 people say the same thing she's saying right there. That before a vacation, the husband gets all grumpy, and then she has high expectations, and they're both not meeting each other's expectations, and I'm always like, just relax a little bit. You know what? Just lower your expectations to human level, and just say, you know what? We're going to get away. We're going to have some fun. He's going to have a little different fun than me. But you can still do this. But I don't think their marriage is falling apart or anything. I think she's just a little hyped up, and and he is too. They both just need to relax a little bit.
Yeah, but the part where when she goes on vacation by himself and he lies to the children,
I mean, that's
not a vacation problem. That's a marriage problem.
Yeah, there are some issues, right? But I mean, half of those things I've thought before going on vacation. I'm like, I used to say to my wife, okay, let's leave at 7:00, expecting to leave at 7. Then I realized that really means 9. You know, she'll look right at me and say, okay, 7:00, we're in.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at 7:00 ready to go, and her alarm's starting to go off, and she had no intention ever of leaving at 7.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, when I was 20, that kind of upset me. Now I'm like, okay, now I just know. I say whatever time, and I say I'm just going to sit back and relax, and I'm already packed, and whenever it happens, it happens, and I'm starting my vacation right now in my little chair.
That's funny because that kind of matches up to something I think not last week, possibly the week before that we talked about, where it's like setting expectations and communicating expectations in a marriage is such an important thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, obviously I can't throw a statistic out there that 50% of your problems will be fixed, but, like, you'd be surprised at how many pitfalls you can just completely walk around.
Everywhere.
If you just literally
Work,
go,
marriage,
okay, here's the
everything.
deal.
Yeah.
When I say 7 that we're going to leave, my expectations, I'd like to leave at 7. I know you and know that we'll probably leave closer to 9.
Yeah,
can
you
we
just
both
be honest with
compromise
me.
and just
Yeah.
go like, hey, since I want 7 and you want 9, let's both give a little and we leave at 8.
Yeah,
you
we've
wake
tried
up
that.
a little bit earlier.
It was
I
still
give you a
9.
little bit of grace in this. And that's exactly right. Even if we leave at 9, guess what? Okay.
It's like,
okay, I'll give grace into this. There's no problem.
Yeah.
My wife and I went on a trip this weekend to Omaha for our 3-year anniversary. And there's one point that, like, she gave me something she wanted to do, which was she wanted to go to a lake, this pretty lake, right? So we go, and we park at this lake, and I'm looking at it, and it's a lake. It's whatever. It's not like we've been to Great Lakes recently that are like, holy crap, this is awesome. We go to this like pond in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right. And so I look at her and I'm like, okay, so as an activity, what was your expectation here? And she goes, I don't know, I thought we could get out and pull out our lawn chairs and sit in the shade and hold hands and talk about our lives. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that that's the expectation you set. It's hot. It's real hot. And this is just a lake. And so, like, I don't love that. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. But, like, if that's something you want to do, I love you and we'll do it. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking and I'm taking in what you're thinking. And she goes, yeah, you're right. That doesn't sound like something we'd really want to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's drive away. Fantastic. And it wasn't an astronomical problem. It didn't break the whole day. We literally just ended up going mini golfing. And it was a blast. We had so much fun doing it. But she was just like, I wanted to stare at something pretty. And I'm like, fantastic. We can do that. Let's just compromise between each other and figure out something we can all do.
We did that a few weeks ago. We were in Minnesota, where there's 10,000 lakes, right? And we're like, hey, there's a lake. Let's go stop. Okay. So we stop. We walk around those little trails. All right. Oh, look, there's a bench right on the water. Okay. We both sit down and we're like, all right, there's mosquitoes. So we sat there for like 3 minutes. And then we went back. Okay, we're both happy.
It's like,
we did it. There's a hotel with air conditioning back there. We'll go back there.
Communicating with your spouse and then having grace for when they're a human being.
Yeah.
It can cover so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it can cover so many faults. It's crazy.
Because we both have expectations.
Yep.
Whether it's what we're eating or what we're doing, and we get all frustrated because we didn't communicate that.
Right.
And we assume they're being dorks toward us.
Exactly.
It's like, no, they just
probably
had a different
trying to hurt
expectation.
me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they just had a thought.
Secular says, traveling is stressful, and some people don't handle it well. Your alcoholic husband appears to be one of them.
Woo!
If you want to enjoy your
escalated.
travel experience, consider taking another vacation trip without him. Include the children if they are old enough to appreciate the exposure they are being given, and always assure them that you love them without measure. If you leave your husband at home, you and your children may enjoy the experience more than if you drag him along.
Yeah, that's totally solving the issue.
I'm not saying that, like, I got no taste for this, but, like, I could see some people being like, I'm going on vacation without you. Like, we just cannot find common ground of where we want to go. And so I think that's a problem. I don't know that I'd let that get too out of hand, but, like, if you're vacationing together, I don't see any reason why you can't take mini vacations apart if that's what you would want to do.
Sure. Hey, my daughter has like 10 weeks of vacation per year. and her husband has like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, what's she supposed to do with the other 7?
Right, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like
Sit here at home.
So she's going to go a week with me to a conference. She's, you know, she's going to do whatever. She's got plans, and
Yeah, I think
it's probably healthy in some ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of situations where my wife and I have talked to each other like, hey, normal, what I think societal standards say that like we should really be doing this together, but like it's so opposite of what we want in this. Are you kind of okay with us not doing this and like recognizing that we're 2 different people? Like you want to go out and do your thing on your day off. It's a day off thing for us. Like my day off, I want to leave the house. I want to go drive around and do stuff all the time. I work from home, so like it's nice to get out. Her day off, she works out and about, so she wants to be home. So we don't usually spend all day Saturday together, even though it's our day off. It's not something we do because I'm just like, hey, I fill my bucket by going out and doing some things and having some fun. You fill your bucket, which is fun for you, by staying home and getting some laundry done and stuff like that. Are we cool with that? And she goes, yeah. And I go, great. And we go, cool. We're 2 unique human beings in a marriage, and we can be perfectly fine apart from each other and just go, hey, we're unique. Goodbye. I love you. I'll see you in a couple hours, and it's just fine. It's not a problem.
Okay, last one's quick. Ready?
Yep.
Dear Live from the Path. Recently, a friend went out to town to shop and asked if I'd like for them to pick me up a few small items while they were there. I said I would, and I told them what I would like. When they returned, they sent me the calculation of what I owed. Purchase price, tax, and gas.
And gas?
This is someone I consider to be a fairly close friend, but charging me for gas for an errand they were already running seems not only rude, but also transactional to the point of cheapness.
Yeah.
I might add that my items were nearly weightless and did not increase fuel requirements. Had I asked for bricks, I'd be more understanding. Is my friend cheap for charging me for gas after offering to shop for me, or am I cheap for balking?
No, both of those are appropriate. Now, it doesn't mean you have to say anything. Just don't do it again. And be surprised at your friend.
Right.
It depends how close you are. Like, if it was one of the guys in this room, I would go, hey, man, really? Doesn't this feel weird? You all right? Are you hurting for cash?
Yeah,
'Cause this
exactly.
seems goofy.
Do you need money? Because we can talk about that.
Let me gift you 82 cents as opposed to you trying to
I
extract
actually
it
got
from
some
me.
actual work I'd pay you to do if you're willing to travel
Right,
around
yes,
and go pick
right.
this stuff up for me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I think they're acting weird. I wouldn't bring it up unless you are close enough in that relationship where it makes sense for you to bring it up, and just whatever, don't do it again.
Yeah, I would say if this is odd behavior, it's worth asking. Like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, you okay, friend?
Like, you've picked up stuff for me before, not tried to charge me gas. What's this about?
Yeah, if you've been good friends long enough, there's no way that there's not been an exchange of errands up until this point.
Whatever. Thanks, Biden. That's what it is. They got the old Joe tax.
I was thinking about it.
He don't remember doing that.
He tripped on his way to sign it.
He's like, I thought we gave all our money to Ukraine.
Yeah. Did you get that bill from your friend? I did that.
All right, Secular says, your friend is cheap. They should not have asked for a monetary compensation for a trip they were taking anyway. If you value the friendship, pay the $2, and the next time you are asked if the person could pick up something for you, say, thank you, but don't bother. Yeah, I would probably take the sass out of your response. If you pay the $2, you don't get to sass them. If you don't want to pay $2, I'd sass them. I think those are your options. I don't think you get to do both.
I'm thinking about it. I'm weighing like.
Sign an
Do you
agreement
earn the right?
beforehand.
Do you earn the right to sass them by giving them the $2?
No, that's not how that works.
Okay.
You're
whatever.
saying that giving the $2 is compliance, and therefore you give up your right to sass.
Yeah, I think once you paid it, you agreed the terms were fair.
But
right? As
but
soon
on
as
the
you
other hand,
exchange
could
money.
the $2 not be your buying your ability to sass them? Like, all right, I gave you the money, but like I'm gonna sass you now because I gave you the money.
Now you could have sassed them for free. Then you shouldn't have paid the $2.
Yeah, you would have been more of a schmuck because you would have been sassing them and not paying them.
No. The truth of the matter is like this gas tax is outrageous. Plus, like now I'd want to see their math. I'm like, hold on, we buying the premium on my errand dollar? I don't think so.
Yeah.
We put 10% ethanol in, bro.
Actually,
Did they say anything before they went on the errand?
Yeah,
though?
it's not my fault you bought that gas guzzler, right? Why don't you, when you go
Right.
pick up stuff for me, you take the Honda out?
I took my Sherman tank to get you this stuff.
maybe
It's real expensive. I had to pull out the yacht.
Then you say, man, I just didn't have any idea on the charge. We didn't discuss it. You can go ahead and take my item back.
Yeah.
I've decided against it.
Right, yeah. If you're turning this into commerce, I have the right to refuse this good.
Yeah. The price was not to my liking.
Yeah. What are they going to ask for a tip? You know what I'm saying? Like, forget it. I think I would definitely say something. I don't care how close of a friend they are to me.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right. Hey, what would you do? Would you give them the old sassafras? Would you just pay it and move on? Would you, I don't know, what other options? Egg their house?
I was waiting for you to come up with more options.
Frankly, I'd overpay them just not to have to deal with the change. Like, they probably made up their gas plus some if you just, because like I ain't breaking no 20 for these 2 baskets of tissues you got me, right? So I'm like, just take the 20. Thanks for picking this stuff up. I think I'd have been generous on my own without you implementing this tax.
Where do you buy tissues that they come in baskets?
Dollar General.
Oh, good to know.
All right, you're listening live from the path. Thanks for hanging out with us this night. Just give us a buzz, 515-517-0085. That's call or text. We'd love to hear from you on any number of items within the show. Your disappointment in the first 10 minutes, the ability, whether you go sassafras over this human taxi thing.
Maybe you want to try out your English accent on us.
Yeah.
I love how your call to calling us or getting in contact. Give us a buzz.
Well, didn't that seem right?
Come on, buddy. Just give us a buzz.
Hot take.
Hot take. Give us a buzz.
All right, that's it.
Ka-doosh.
Get us on the lifeline. That life from the past.
We're going to cut you loose. Thanks for hanging out with us.
8th caller gets a free Hermes.
Very much appreciate it.
Hermes.
We'll see when we see you.
You've got my legs.
Be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Past.